Live everywhere.
Daily Co's Radio on netrootsradio.com presents
David Waldman. Kagro in the Morning Show. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hi, good morning, everybody. How you doing? Wow, very warm sound to the microphone today, or very resinous sound anyway. Well, awaiting word from Justice about whether or not that is A-okay. That's a very weird sound in my headphones anyway. I hope it's pleasant and sonorous in your ears. That's the end of my dictionary. I think I'm finished for the day. Daily Co's Radio is live now. It is Friday, March 23rd, 2018. Almost forgot what day it was. Doesn't really matter much. End of time rapidly approaching, of course. John Bolton, apparently, set to take over as National Security Advisor, as ridiculous as that is, on April 9th, which is my brother's birthday. So sorry about that one. Didn't really mean to spoil it that way. Not my doing. It's Donald Trump. Daily Coast Radio is live now. Bill reminds us all the way from Portland, Maine. Looks like Kagro X, that's me, David Waldman, picked the wrong week to grow a fuzzy mustache. I don't know. I think they're rather in. And much to all of your surprise, you don't know this, but I actually have done that. And in fact, like I have a giant rabbinical beard happening at the moment as well. I'm doing a David Letterman thing. I'm retiring now, so that I can get that out of the way before the nuclear apocalypse. I felt like I deserved that kind of time off. So I went to the novelty store and got a beard and glued it on. And that's that. Actually, I mean, it's really true. I guess I'll have to... I've not said anything about it because who cares? That's not really an issue. Those who have met me in real life and see me daily have noticed, of course. But true life, true story. You remember when the Kagro in the Morning Show had relocated to the refugee camp in the basement? The bathrooms were being redone. Remember all that? And it was a huge hassle to get everything done, and I had to, use the kids' bathroom in the morning. I didn't want to shave in the sink there because that's a messy thing, and it's a messy thing in your own sink, and you clean it up. But I didn't want. We were all crammed into one bathroom. I didn't want to spend the extra time. And that project went on for some time. And I said, hey, I wonder what this thing would look like if I grew it out. Well, I have a big, massive, curly mess of a beard. I don't know who has something like that. I don't know. Jerry Garcia, maybe? Or will I have a long, straight ZZ Top thing? What's going to happen? What color will it be? What direction will it grow? Up, down, sideways? So I decided to experiment with it. And it was a fun and interesting thing for a time, and now it's you're when are you going to get rid of that thing? And my family wants it gone, but it was handy for the winter. It really does actually keep you kind of warm. So I don't know. Winter we thought was over, spring we thought began, but then it snowed again. So that's another 6 months of winter. I think that's the Groundhog Day thing, and so I guess this groundhog on my face stays there for a while. Maybe I'll take a picture and tweet it around or something, but then I'll be identified by the alt-right assassins or something. I don't know. It's just a privacy thing, and I get to hide behind this and pretend I'm a brand new person. It's terrific. Anyway, let's see. Plenty of things to catch up on today. Of course, John Bolton probably... I guess, chief among them, HR Puff and Stuff McMaster on his way out. That makes 19 different people that Donald Trump assured us via Twitter he wasn't going to fire. And then the rest of us said, that means he's going to fire him. And the press reported it. And Donald Trump said, fake news, you're liars, you're a failure, the failing New York Times. This happened with a number of things. And then, of course, the truth is, eventually he announces, yeah, they're out. McMaster, that happened, I think, if I recall correctly, it was something like 11 days ago, yesterday, when he made this announcement. 11 days ago that he had last reassured everybody that the reports that McMaster was going to leave and be replaced as National Security Advisor was fake news, made up by the failing take your pick, New York Times, Washington Post, what have you. And then 11 days later, boom, the boom is lowered, and McMaster out I guess theoretically, I'm sure they can claim, and I'm sure Sarah Huckabee Sanders would claim that the situation as well. He said he had a very good working relationship with him, and he does. He just also wanted to make a change. So anyway, so he's on the way out. And then what was the other one? I can't remember anymore. Who else did he replace in the last couple of days? Oh, it's probably in Pocket somewhere. But once again, yes, the legal team. That's right. Rumors circulated that he wanted to shake up the legal team and that the squad he had put together was going to break up. No. That one he specifically said. He called out Maggie Haberman and the New York Times for being fake news. The failing New York Times falsely reports that I'm going to make a change in my legal team. I'm very happy with the team I've got put together. And that is as may be, but they weren't very happy because John Dowd has resigned from the case, and he was perhaps the most accomplished of the bunch that they had. He tried to add Ted Olson to the team, and Olson was like, nope. He turned around as soon as he saw what he's really getting into and headed for the hills. And then he added conspiracy theorist Joseph DeGeneva, and that may have been what prompted Dowd's exit, actually. So once again, it's a standing joke, but it's funny because it's true. When Donald Trump or someone around Donald Trump tweets or says to the press, this is not going to happen, the signal is that is going to happen. And you'll say so, and they'll say fake news, and then you wait 10 days, and then you're right, but by then it's too late, and his deplorables don't care anyway. So whatever. That's just the way it works out there. And we'll catch up on that. And I do mean catch up on it, like ketchup slices we'll put on it. That was a great story. That was my son's favorite story from yesterday's show. We have an offer on the table from Armando to come on the show and take over and talk about everything in Greg's absence. And Friday is a fine day for catching up with Armando. So it's the way he puts it. It's such a product we put together here. I have talk for you. I like that. Either that or he's talking to me through Google Translate. I don't know which. Trump's latest tweet, for example, he's threatening to veto the omnibus. Golly, he actually is. Look at that. I did see that was in the offing yesterday, and here's the tweet itself. He's such a dummy. Trump. I'm not insulting you yet, Armando. I am considering a veto in all caps because why not? Here's Armando to tell us what the hell's going on here. I am considering a veto. Whoops, I lost the page. Of the omnibus spending bill based on the fact, look, more like random capitalization too. Based on the fact that the 800,000 plus DACA recipients have been totally abandoned by the Democrats, not even mentioned in the capital B bill, and the all caps border wall, which is desperately needed for our national defense, caps again, is not fully funded. Now, I don't think that represents any of the bargaining points that were put forth in the past in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. You know what? Go ahead. What do I care? At this point, veto it. Veto it all. Vacate the premises. You know, what's the difference? YOLO, LOL, nothing matters. Armando, you differ on that?
No, I just think it's fascinating because I remember there being a little bit of rumblings. I tell you, this DACA thing has been on his mind.
Oh, gosh, he can't stop.
For a while.
The deal maker.
Every once in a while, you'll see it, a random, the Democrats have abandoned the Dreamers stuff.
Yeah.
And, it just pops up out of nowhere. There's no real connection to anything.
Nothing interesting on Fox and Friends. So he says.
No, I mean,
Dreamers,
Fox and Friends isn't clamoring to fix DACA. They don't care.
Right. So that's his standby thing.
It's him. It's in him. I don't know what's got him going that way, but something does. And it's fascinating because now he's calling for the wall for DACA deals.
Okay.
On that tweet, right?
Yes, I think.
That was a deal that was brought to him by Graham and Schumer way back when.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, no one knows that, so everybody shut up.
Well,
I don't know.
No one knows that. Of course, no one knows that
Very few people know this.
He canceled DACA.
Yeah.
And of course, the reason he lost all his leverage to the degree that he had it was the courts enjoined his cancellation of DACA, which, for the reasons I think you and I discussed when the decision came down from the Southern District of New York judge and mirrored a California federal judge's opinion, that the rational basis for doing it is that DACA is unconstitutional. But since DACA isn't unconstitutional, your purpose isn't rational, therefore your ending of DACA isn't rational, ergo you're out. And that's going through the process. That's going to go to the appellate court. They didn't go straight to the Supreme Court on anything or anything like that. So the scope of the president's power to do things based on a phony rationale is still open. And the Supreme Court would probably say, no, the president can just make up stuff for why he's doing it. Eventually, it'll be some 5-4 decision if and when they ever get to it. But in the meantime, the DACA recipients are okay, and they still have to process the applications. And frankly, the pressure's off Democrats to give in on anything.
Oh.
Though I imagine they'd probably still do the partial funding, maybe not the $25 billion, but maybe they'd give him $5 billion to play around with his transparent walls, and so you can see when the drug bags are falling over your head.
I love that.
At the wall. I just think it's funny because my understanding is that if this omnibus is not passed, the government has to shut down pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, Friday. I mean, that's the deadline.
Is that today? Today's Friday?
Or next Friday? Right. Today. Yeah. Right. Tonight at midnight, I guess. So, yeah, go for it.
It comes out of the blue because, he sort of whispered it. There was a couple of things that he wasn't happy, but then, boom, this tweet. Mm-hmm. And the big drama last night, if you follow Joan McCarter, is her Senator Jim Risch was blocking the omnibus bill because he didn't like that a national reserve was being named for former Idaho Governor Cecil Andrus. Joan was very close to that family, so she got very fired up.
Yeah,
it got a lot of attention, and it was, as petty a moment as you can imagine. Andrus has been dead for a few years. I don't know how many exactly, but
all of them since it happened.
This guy remembered from like 30 years ago some fight he had with Cecil Andrus. It's just remarkable.
It's amazing that you would do that. I mean,
it was amazing.
Speak ill of the dead or whatever. La la la. I mean, guy's
I'm
dead.
Shut down
Forest.
The government.
Right.
Because you're going to name a national reserve that the guy saved. He created and saved. Cecil Andrus.
Did he not want this thing?
What else you know about him? He was the Secretary of Interior for Jimmy Carter, and he created, many millions of square miles of national reserves. Not just in Idaho, but one of the big things he did was in Alaska. Which a lot of the fights that happen now are thanks to Cecil Andrus because he fought for it back then. And now basically it's just a fight to make sure that what Cecil Andrus did in the 70s isn't rolled back. So it was an amazing display. Everybody from even Corker and Alexander were like, what the hell are you doing? They all wanted to get out of town. By the way, I think they're all out of town.
They may be now that they probably... Yeah, passed it. I mean, I think he's not really considering vetoing it. And of course, like I was just tweeting, I mean, the idea that you're considering something. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
And of course, the biggest news of yesterday, which you've been touching on, is this crazy Bolton thing. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy, of course, about it is Trump ran against the Iraq War.
Oh, Joan
pretended that he opposed it.
Hang on a second here. How can I see if I can add Joan without losing you?
Oh, good.
Oh, no, I missed her call. Here, let me call her back.
No, you got to get her on because let her tell you the story about Risch.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can engineer that. Let's see. I think we got to use the plus thing here. Add people. I'm going to talk my way through it. Let's try. Now, we'll see. Maybe she was... I don't think you can butt dial on Skype. So let's go see.
She can't Skype?
No, I mean, I don't think you can accidentally just butt dial on Skype. I think it has to be intentional.
I assume she heard me talking.
There you go.
about
All right. Joan.
You Voldemorted me.
We only said your name twice, I think. So jumped the gun on that, but that's good. Yeah, please tell us what's wrong with your guy out there. He's not your guy. I mean, he represents you allegedly.
Petty, nasty little man. He always has been.
What a weird thing to do. And by the way, let's all blame like Newt Gingrich for this. He's so cheapened the idea of what the government is and how impactful a shutdown is. It was always his theory that the American people wouldn't miss the government anyway. They'd be happy it was closed. And that has, I think, cheapened the idea of a government shutdown dramatically. And so now, you have people serving as United States senators who this is their regard for the United States government, that it's something that they can snap their fingers and wish away because they're mad at a guy who's dead.
Yeah. Andrus died last August, which makes this all a little bit more poignant.
Yeah.
Oh, was it last August? I thought.
Yeah, his death is pretty recent.
Oh, no wonder.
He and Mike Simpson, who also just got incredibly dissed by Risch, his colleague in the Congress. Andrus and Simpson have been working on this for years and years and years and years. And after Andrus left public office, Simpson took up the mantle and was pushing for the federal wilderness designation in Congress. And Risch several times blocked it in the Senate. Simpson would get it through the House. Risch would block it in the Senate. Finally, it happened. And under President Obama, it was declared the wilderness area. It's a huge, nearly 100,000 acres of really pristine and rugged wilderness. Beautiful, beautiful place in the heart of the state.
Okay.
And threatened because there's mineral there that they want to mine.
Amen. Okay.
It's always been threatened by mining.
I see.
And now it's protected. But that's not any of Risch's thing. Risch's thing is that Cease has always had such great stature in the state and has bested Risch I don't know how many times in their long history together in the state, starting in the 70s when Risch was in the legislature and Cease was governor. And then when Cease was governor again in the 80s and before he ran for the Senate, before Risch ran for the Senate. Cease was a much better politician and just ran circles around him and bested him pretty much every time. And Risch is a petty little man who holds grudges.
What a weirdo.
So here we are. So he brings it to the United States Senate and threatens to shut down government. Because
that's what you do.
He's carrying a decades-old grudge.
Weird. So, I mean, does he also happen to object substantively to the designation because of the amount of land involved or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's a nice forest.
None
I just
of that.
wanted to be named for,
It's all about Cease and, to a lesser extent, Simpson.
Weird. That's our Senate, ladies and gentlemen.
That's our Senate.
The 100 best people we can find.
And Paul looked principled.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
Rand Paul was going to oppose it over stuff that was actually in it that mattered. Some of the stuff that really does matter because it really is kind of awful, which again goes back to Newt Gingrich ruining Congress.
yes.
They packed so much stuff into this. I don't know that anybody knows exactly what all is in there. Some of it is really, really awful and deserved to go through the committee process, through the hearing process, through the sunshine process, and didn't.
Yeah.
So there's my rant for the morning.
Okay.
Wait, before you
Still
go,
have a little bit of ire left over from last night when I was rage tweeting.
she was hot. Really, it really got a lot of attention. I'm surprised.
Good.
Jim Risch is now famous for one thing, and I don't know how did he play in Idaho?
So far, the Idaho Statesman has the story. I haven't seen anything on local television yet. The Idaho Statesman, petty was sort of the main theme throughout the story, which was good. People were rightfully horrified in the Idaho Press Corps. So
it's embarrassing, frankly. I mean,
it's incredibly embarrassing.
And not so much Rhino, but for him, I mean, did someone not tell him, look, you look like an idiot when you do this?
Yeah. And, he's never had a lot of friends in the state. He's had a lot of connections in the state. And it's Idaho,
it's a tough state for a non-Republican, but still. There was that one Republican that got run out of office. I forget what his name was.
Bill Sally.
Yeah, Sally. Yeah, that guy was crazy.
He was crazy. Seriously, right. Literally. So
can I switch subjects on you? Because there's a couple of things that we do know are not in the omnibus. One, Donald Trump is saying he's considering vetoing because he didn't get money for his wall, and he says he's concerned about the Dreamers.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's not in there is the Susan Collins fix for the
Affordable Care Act, the stabilization bill. Yeah.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
Way. She got
talk a little bit about that?
Susan Collins first, who flip-flopped yesterday and essentially admitted that she would have voted for the tax bill all along. It didn't have to have the promise that she would get her stabilization bills a vote. She was going to vote for it anyway, which is counter to what she was telling her constituents last fall when she was supposedly negotiating so hard to extract those promises from Mitch McConnell. So again, she looks either duplicitous or naive, or I don't know what the deal is. But the other part of this, part of the stabilization bill was good. There was reinsurance money there to help insurance companies sort of back up covering their sickest people. The CSR fix, the cost sharing reduction payment fix that they had, actually probably would have ended up hurting middle income consumers more, raising their premiums more, because the way insurance companies have adjusted their premiums under the lack of CSRs, they figured it out. They figured out how to set premium rates so that they could lower costs for folks. And this was going to upend it all over again. So it not passing is not an absolute disaster, although it would have helped in some cases. But the thing that she and Alexander did is stop working with Patty Murray and allowed the abortion thing to get into it.
Right. The abortion thing being that they were prohibit.
Right.
They were going to prohibit private insurance companies from covering abortions, right?
Right. Being able to use any of the reinsurance money or any other funds to be able to cover abortion. What it essentially would have done was expanded Hyde for 3 years. Now Hyde has to be renewed as a rider to spending bills on an annual basis. This would have expanded it for 3 years, which is bad. But it also would have made it nearly impossible for any insurance company on an Obamacare market and in the individual market in general, because what happens when they're selling Obamacare policies bleeds over onto all of their individual policies. It would have made it nearly impossible for them to sell abortion coverage. That really upends the market. And Collins had to have known that this was a poison pill. By including that, she sabotaged this effort. She knew Patty Murray wasn't going to accept it. She knew Nancy Pelosi wasn't going to accept it, nor were any of the Democrats that they needed to pass this thing, except Dan Lipinski.
Now, my understanding is also Paul Ryan didn't even put in her version into his bill. So, because if Ryan could have gotten the Republican votes, he gets it through the House, and if they could somehow get to 60, in the Senate, they could have given it a shot, but they kept trying to blame the Democrats, particularly Pelosi, which struck me as weird considering there's no filibuster in the House.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think the House would have passed it with or without, is what I'm saying.
Paul Ryan had never, ever, ever agreed to what Mitch McConnell was, as it turns out, not agreeing to,
Right.
offering this vote. Paul Ryan doesn't care. It would have been harder for him to pass it with his Republicans had there been anything that they could call an Obamacare fix in it, because they're allergic to that. So
yeah, and let me tell you that there's some Republicans grandstanding on Trump's veto threat. Bob Corker, for one, has
Yes.
tweeted out that he'll bring the president a pen so he can sign a veto message.
yeah, Bob Corker, after the whole Rish thing was settled last night, got up and he was mad because he had gone home and gone to bed thinking that the vote was going to be in the morning, and he had to get up and get dressed and come back in, and he was feeling a little pissy himself over that. So
He had to get up and get dressed.
Oh, no,
Okay.
not that.
yeah, his
Wow.
bedtime's 10:30. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, staff was still there, but okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty dumb.
Nobody really is shining with glory this morning.
Right. Well, can we play this through? What if Trump does the crazy thing and does veto? What happens next?
I want to warn you that we do have our break coming up in 30 seconds. If you,
And actually, I do have to go right about the veto. So
She leaves me hanging, doesn't tell me what
Yeah.
happens next. Okay.
they all have to come back.
Cool. So that's good for the airline industry.
Quirky
Yeah,
gonna love
join
that.
the marchers tomorrow.
Creating jobs. Oh, right. Oh, boy, that'll be great. Trying to get cabs through the city as well. Oh, how interesting would that be for the March for Life to shut down the bridges between D.C. and National Airport on their way back to vote for the thing? I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying please go ahead and do that.
And is there anybody left in the White House to talk Trump down?
No.
Hi, it's me, David Waldman, your host for Kagro in the Morning, interrupting this little break to say thanks so much to all of you who are contributing supporters of Kagro in the Morning. Thousands of you are downloading the show each day, but fewer than 1 in 25 regular listeners are donating to help keep us on the air. For the money you'd spend on a single 3-minute iTunes song, we bring you 2 hours of great news and entertainment every day, 5 days a week. Patreon.com, Patreon.com makes it easy. You can find us there by searching Kagro X or David Waldman or Kagro in the Morning or even Daily Coast Radio in their search box, and you'll be right where you need to be to make easy, recurring monthly contributions to support our show. Once again, thanks so much for your support. Good morning and welcome back to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. Now returning to you without Joan McCarter because, of course, she had to report for duty and write all this up for the front page. And so we thank her for stopping in Mountain Time, no less, here on this Eastern Seaboard-focused show. But a lot of leftover energy from last night's rant, I suppose. I think we got snuck in under the wire before our break. The question of will there be anybody left in the White House to sign a bill that they came back and fixed anyway? And the answer probably no. They'll all vacate the premises. I imagine they can get the thing down to Florida this weekend. Is he taking off? I doubt. I don't know what the president's...
I hear he's going to Mar-a-Lago. That's what the word.
You'd think so. I mean, there's a protest going on all over the country, of course, the March for Our Lives, but Washington, D.C. will be a hot spot. I'm sure he wants to get out of there. And in Mar-a-Lago, where they can cordon things off and people won't get near him, although people will be sea kayaking off of Mar-a-Lago and picked up by the Coast Guard. Who knows? I'm not saying you should do that, but you should do that.
Oh, it's impossible to protest at Mar-a-Lago. They blocked it like half a mile away.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. So you have to fly one of those
it's beyond
planes.
I think it's excessive. I've actually looked into it, believe it or not, in one of my more outraged days. Mm-hmm. And and I think the distance is outrageous. It goes well beyond security. I think it's
well, I'm sure that I'm sure he asked for something excessive, and I'm sure he whined and complained. I have guests here who are paying members who deserve peace and quiet. And, well, you're the one ruining it for them. It's not my fault, really. But
the Winter White House rents out rooms, apparently.
Yes, okay, Lincoln bedroom, something by her emails. I don't know.
I mean, just stop for just. I know we have a million crazy things going on.
No, go ahead.
But the Winter White House, as he calls it, rents out rooms.
Yes.
That the president makes money on.
Yes, and you can be American, foreign, a spy, whatever. Doesn't matter. We can't get a list of who you are. We don't know who vets you. I guess presumably the Secret Service does minimal. Like, all right, well, I mean, do they have a bomb? No. All right, then. It's a gun-free zone, by the way.
It's incredible. But, I mean, the big news, and I think you focused on it in the beginning, is Bolton.
Yes.
Why is Bolton so scared? Why are we all freaking out? If you didn't live through the Bush 43 administration.
Oh, yeah, right.
And this insane wars and insane talk and insane people and total liars, total corrupt group of people. I mean, we're all like, there people are right to be upset about the rehabilitation of George W. Bush.
Yep.
Because he was just terrible.
Stupid and
unbelievably bad. And John Bolton is probably the poster child for how bad an administration that was.
Yeah.
Him or Doug Feith.
Not just policy. And I guess there's a good difference between Feith, dumb, terrible, scary, policy. Same for Bolton, but Bolton also personally a maniac. Like
personally
physically,
a maniac and a corrupt maniac.
Yes.
He is not above taking bribes. He basically has been bribed by the NRA, who were bribed by the Russians. People say, oh, well, he said tough things about the Russians. He'll never say them again. I think Mike McFaul was on this morning, and he makes a great point. He may say those things about Russia, but he knows what he wants to do, which is start a war. This is what Bolton's coming to do, friends. Start a war with Iran, particularly. First and foremost, that's his first goal. And if possible, he wouldn't mind starting a war with North Korea, too.
Yeah. This is on a policy level, he's a guy who advocates and believes in first strike. He thinks that there's, such a thing as a winnable nuclear war. And, it's never been the case. We never really examined that. And maybe with North Korea, if it's limited to us in North Korea, I guess you could say, well, we might only lose 2 million people. And we've got a lot more than that. So we'll win, minus all other, implications of A, having a nuclear exchange, and B, everybody else decides to stay out of it because we're not worried about it. It's just nuclear war. We have no dog in this fight. But he actually advocates this. But, like on top, as I was saying, with Feith, on top of all that, he's also somebody who has a reputation for, like chasing people around and physically menacing them when they disagree with him, which is weird and unsettling and illegal.
No, he's crazy. He's not well mentally. And guess who also is not well mentally? The president. Trump, so this is a very combustible. Look at it this way. You had this guy McMaster, who relatively intelligent. How good he was at the bureaucratic stuff, I don't know. But does bureaucratic stuff really matter with Trump? I find that hard to believe. One of the things just saying, oh, Bolton's a great bureaucratic infighter. I mean, what does that even mean? This is Trump. Mm-hmm. It's not like he doesn't even read the things that are put in front of him. Do not congratulate him in all caps. And he said he didn't care. So I don't know what bureaucracy we're talking about. What you should be talking about, this is where Bolton has proven to be good, is convincing Trump.
Yeah. Now, he won't be on television, so it will be very difficult to speak to him directly. I actually, in looking for a silver lining in all this, as you mentioned over the break, at first I was thinking, okay, well, one of the possible silver linings is that almost everybody at this point who's gone to work for Trump has been fired and left in disgrace and had difficulty being taken seriously anywhere else. And it might mean the end of a career going to work for him. And so maybe this is the end of the Bolton career. We just have to sit through, a year before it's over. I don't know if we'll survive, etc. And then, of course, there are some people who have managed to survive in the White House. I can't say undamaged, but they continue to work there. So it's possible that Bolton may survive. Two, the fact that he won't be on telly in the morning telling him what to do. Actually, I do literally think that would be that's like a step down in influence for John Bolton. Speaking to the president live, face-to-face in the Oval Office is super boring for Trump. And he zones out and snores through things. Apparently, the news reports today was that he only managed to make it through, at the end, briefings with McMaster by mocking him for being too serious. Oh, yeah, why are you so serious? You're so,
They called him a nerd.
Yeah.
You're a nerd.
It's like, I don't even know what to say about that other than, well, he's unfit for the presidency and we should have been rid of him a long time ago. And he never should have been a serious candidate, but he is because
Here we
New York
are.
Times or whatever. But okay. So I don't know. I'm not certain that Bolton ends up having as much influence as he thinks by being there
I think that's
live.
true. And I love your
That's
television
nuts.
point because there's actually now a backstory to Trump's tweet on the veto threat.
Oh, was it on TV?
The guy who monitors Fox and
Matt
Friends for us,
Gertz.
Matt Gertz,
Yeah.
at Media Matters,
A name I remember.
pinpoints how this all happened. On Fox and Friends this morning, Pete Hegseth said of the omnibus, quote, "This is a swamp budget. This is a Mitch McConnell special," close quote, savaged it because it had no wall.
Oh. Why isn't he
So
calling
that's
Mexico?
that
by
guy's
the
a
way?
great bureaucratic infighter, the guy on Fox and Friends.
He is. That's the new bureaucratic infighting. Of course, there's nobody in the bureaucracy anymore intentionally. They didn't name anybody to take up these middle positions so that their top level guys could be unfettered in implementing whatever policy, quote unquote, policy they were handed. So bureaucratic infighting is no longer as big a deal. But I really do think that, unless Bolton sleeps over at the residence, and he might, and wakes up and talks to him in the morning, that's the president's pillow chat is Fox and Friends. If it's not, but it has a special meaning for him if it's on the box. He grasps, and he knows that everybody else has seen it. It's very important to him to be on the same page as other people. He doesn't strike out on his own very often. And when he does, he lies about what's going on. That's when you'll see, when he's unsure whether or not he's on the same page as everybody else, he says, many people are saying this same thing. Just to be sure, so that you know for certain that he's not the only one. I didn't make this up. Many people are saying this.
It's the weirdest tick that he feels like he has to say that many people are saying, but it's part of his insanity.
Right. Yes.
He's an insecure narcissist, which is an oxymoron, it seems, but
Yeah.
I think it describes him.
For a guy who always thought of himself as a big leader, when he gets uncomfortable getting out front on something, he reminds everybody by lying about it that many people are saying this. I'm not the first one. It's interesting that he never feels comfortable saying, this is my thought on things and that people should agree with me. I'm a very brilliant person. No.
Exactly.
Now, I heard from a dummy in a cab something. Many people are saying this. So, okay.
Yep. And the weird part, and I don't know, here's the part that's interesting because he only watches Fox, but he does read the New York Times and whatnot. He must have seen the horror about Bolton because it's been pretty universal. Not even.
This is a Mitch McConnell
There's the Mitch McConnell thing. I didn't really mean for that to play, but
Yeah, that's all right. What is that? What did Mitch McConnell
that was
say?
well, I might as well start it over again. Why won't this stop?
I don't know.
This is amazing. This must be. Oh, let's see. It's happening on Twitter. This is
is that the Pete Hegseth?
this is the Matt Gertz tweet with the clip of.
Oh, that's Pete Hegseth. That's
Yes, saying this is a swamp budget, the Mitch McConnell special. Savaged it because no wall. The one Mexico.
Trump loves this Hexeth guy. He calls him
Oh.
after Fox and Friends and tells him what a good job he did, and they talk policy.
So weird. Oh my
I'm
God.
not kidding.
He's like a fan. He's a television fanboy, and he's hiring all these guys off of the show to, quote unquote serve in quote unquote government. He's like
it's
playing
a TV,
house.
It's a TV
for him.
cabinet. I mean, what's his name? Kudlow. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Kudlow is a crazy free trader, more so than I am. A guy who's totally against tariffs, says tariffs are terrible. So, okay, let's hire that guy because he's good on TV.
Mm-hmm. You remember when he was literally casting his cabinet. That guy looks like a Secretary of State. That one doesn't. Corker's too short to be Secretary of State. I'll take, Rex Tillerson. When he was, and how everyone was out of central casting. And
central casting. He looks like a Secretary of State.
And if it didn't work the first time around, then all right, tell you what, how this time I'll guarantee that my cabinet looks like a bunch of TV experts. I'll hire TV experts.
I mean, he chose Mattis because of his nickname. I mean, that's 100% true. It's got to be true.
Yeah, and he doesn't even really use that nickname. That's the funny part. Don't call me that. I don't use that. What are you talking about? Somebody might have made that up.
Yeah, someone might have said, "Mad Dog," or whatever at some point or other, and Trump loved it. Boom.
Yeah. They were talking about the fortified wine that he drank, the MD 2020, which back in the college days, people used to call Mad Dog. So maybe that was it. He drank the old MD 2020.
That's the president. I mean, we've sort of sunk into some just. It's not acceptance, but it is. He is the president. We have to do, but it's just unbelievable that we're stuck with a buffoon who is mentally ill as president, and now they say he really thinks he's got it under control. He understands it, and
he's growing into the role.
Today,
he truly
wants to do it his way.
Yeah, right. Lost in all this, I literally am not seeing anybody else say. I'm sure everybody's thinking it. They're just tired of saying it. The idea of vetoing an appropriations bill because it doesn't have money for the wall that Mexico was going to pay for. I mean, that was call and response with the most deplorable of deplorables at every rally. And who's going to pay for it? Nobody, because you're going to veto the omnibus bill that funds it at inadequate levels. Oh. What?
Yeah, it actually does have $1.6 billion for border security.
Yes, and I mean, but wasn't there also a point? Michael Musson had commented earlier on, and I was retweeting it. Now I'm trying to recall exactly how he said it, but he was saying, "I think Trump telegraphed blocking the omnibus when he said, "I'll sign what you send me." I'm not going to hold out for this or that little thing. And I recall that being said or something to that effect. I don't remember the exact quote, but yeah, he was saying, oh, sure, as long as there's maybe some token funding or every time there would be some amount of funding put forward that was for border security, Sarah Huckabee Sanders would have a press conference and say, that's wall money. So here's another $1.6 billion. This time it's not wall money. Okay. You know what? Veto it. Go ahead. Close the government, veto it. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, but there's no. Of course, you remember all the last fights on it. It was a setup, and everyone was trying to set it up. Who got the blame?
Mm-hmm.
But here, there's a passed omnibus bill. I mean, who gets the blame? Trump does.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I don't know how you. It's passed.
It's passed. True. I mean, it was negotiated. It's bipartisan. I mean, I don't. He's not going to do it. Let's just face it. He won't have the stomach to do it.
I mean, someone will explain to him, okay, well, what does this mean? What if I do it? Okay, well, the Congress has to come back and try and pass something, and they'll work over the weekend, and I don't know whether they'll come up with anything or not. But if they do, they'll have to send it to you for signature at Mar-a-Lago. We'll have to, get it to you and sign it. You mean so even if I'm playing golf, you'll just bring it out to me? Yeah, we'll do that. I don't want that to happen. It's annoying.
Here's a funny tweet. Garrett Haake, reporter for NBC, congressional reporter, says he ran into Senator Lankford giving a Capitol tour. So I guess Lankford's still here, hasn't gone back to Oklahoma yet. And Hake tells Lankford that
Whole
Trump
state
is
caving
threatening
in.
to
I
veto.
wouldn't go either. Yeah.
And Lankford said, "No, you're just joking." He didn't believe him.
Yeah. You're taking the president literally, and you should
Exactly.
take
Not
him
seriously.
seriously, but not literally. Maybe that's it. I guess so. And he, it doesn't worry me that he might think he's back. I said I was going to veto it. Now I'm not. He'll flip on that pretty easy, and he'll just say I was considering it. So he's got plenty of wiggle room.
This is even better though. 538. The White House released a statement of administration policy yesterday supporting the bill.
Okay. Now that's where you're supposed to issue any veto threats. And in normal situations, the president would, or the White House would issue a statement of administration policy. That's where veto threats come from. That's where the telegraphing of signing statements will come from. We've forgotten about those. I don't know if Trump has used that in
They're
any
too long,
way.
too many words.
Yeah, right. And who cares, right? Why don't I just do what I want to do? Why do I want to write it down? If I don't like it, I don't like it. Later on, I'll ignore that law. And I'll say I did it because, I don't know. What are you going to do, punch me? I did it. Like he advised the Native American groups. Just do it and figure out if it's legal later.
I thought he advised the Native American groups that there's a senator that he calls Pocahontas.
Oh, yes. Well, he definitely told them that. But yeah, that was with the code talkers. I think he told them that this was I think a Native American or a panel of representatives of the various Native nations that I don't know. I think they were thinking of mining or mineral leasing on their land, and they weren't sure whether they could go ahead and do it, whether they had clearance. And he said, I'll tell you, in business you learn, you just go and do it first. And if you find out it's illegal later, it'll settle itself.
That's right. It's been his life. Speaking of that, and here's a guy that is also a threat. You may have discussed him recently, Jared Kushner.
Yes.
You may
Traitor.
recall many years ago, you and I were first discussing the 666 building.
Yes, right. Good number.
And he's selling favors.
Yes.
And it looks like he sold them to the Saudis.
Yeah, we discussed that a bit
They say
yesterday.
they own them.
Right, he's in their pocket. That's according to MBS, not MBZ. MBZ might think he's in his pocket. MBS says he's in his pocket. It's a fight. MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. MBZ, what is he? Is he the what do they call him there? UAE is
Crown Prince.
Is he a Crown Prince? Is he a non-Crown Prince? Is he an Emir? I don't remember.
I believe he's called the Crown Prince.
Sure.
I
not?
think what's most interesting, and Mueller's watching every move because obviously I doubt the money would come directly from the Saudis at this point. But, you do a favor for me, I do a favor for you. There's some company over here that's going to be the people who loaned Kushner the money, but somehow it'll be interesting to see how that unravels because,
every
there's
indication.
still people who are owed money, $1.5 billion, and I don't know how Jared's going to get the money.
Have we considered? We should figure out who is owed the money. Actually,
Vornado owns now 49%. I don't know if they hold the rest of the debt. Vornado is a huge New York real estate company.
Because I don't know whether they're at bottom decent people or not. So I don't know whether I should warn them. You're going to jail. That's what's happening.
The Vornado people?
Yeah. Not because you've done anything illegal, but because Jared Kushner owes you money and he might not secure it. Now, I think he's going to get that money from the UAE and Saudi Arabia. What I believe is going on here is he went to Qatar for the money. They said no. So he backed the Saudi UAE blockade
War
of Qatar. And then the Saudish and the UAE folks, the Emiratis, got together and said, well, if we give him the money, then he'll back us, keep us at the apex of Gulf politics from the American perspective. Help us isolate Qatar, help us isolate Iran, and be forever grateful to us. So why don't, I mean, it's nothing to us. It's pocket change. Maybe we should give them the money. That will save the Kushner family businesses, and Kushner would, well, his plan was to continue to, I'm sure, text the readout of the PDB to his friends in Saudi Arabia and the UAE, but then he lost access to it. But he may still get it from somebody else. And that's the big plan. That's what's going on, and we're sort of supposed to piece that together and say allegedly over the next year or so until it's finally nailed down solid. But I think if you've been reading the newspaper, that's pretty much what's going on. The only other alternative out there, and I guess it's still possible, that the Saudis and the emirs in the UAE may pull the plug or come up short on some of that funding, maybe because Kushner doesn't bend or break on some point with Israel at some point, because he is too closely tied there too, and they pull the plug, and then he still owes billions of dollars and is facing a gigantic balloon payment, and then the only option at that point would be to accuse the debt holders of some horrible crime and send them to Siberia. Maybe really actually Siberia. Maybe the Russians will do that. Maybe they're Russian who holds the debt. I don't know. But drum up some charges, and or if you can't sue your way out of it, simply leverage the power of the federal government to declare something they've done illegal, lock them up, and absolve yourself of the debt that way. So make sure you pay your parking tickets, Vornado. You're in danger until Kushner's fears are allayed either by a cash infusion from the Persian Gulf or you are erased as a debt holder. One way or another. Maybe Putin kills you.
Tornadoes are big boys. I'm telling you, it's not going to be that easy to push them around, but we'll see. By the way, just everyday graft and corruption.
Yes.
Nothing special. Just announced. Mick Mulvaney,
yes,
who is not only the head of the Office of Management and Budget, but also the interim head of the Consumer Financial Protection Board, is going to drop a number of cases against payday lenders.
Okay, that's good because they're making a lot of money.
Drain the swamp, David.
Right. Well, that's what the coal miners wanted. They hated getting their paychecks cashed quickly and paying too little to get it done. So thanks for, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what. I guess if you're still employed as a coal miner, you might actually be getting paid by direct deposit. You might actually have a bank account. I'm not certain if they pay you enough. The wages are pretty good for the most part. So they may be banked folk. But if not, or they're living hand to mouth, that will get more difficult because that is what you wanted. That's what you asked for. And now you're going to get it. Good news. So, well,
I just note for our listeners that you were listening to Joe McCarter 25 minutes ago. She's already posted her story on the Trump veto threat.
How fast
That's
she
efficiency.
Is. Yeah, I just saw that fly by in her purplish avatar. Trump threatens veto government shutdown, because Fox and Friends trashed the spending bill. That's the basics of it. That's the headline over at Daily Kos. So do head over there.
And then she has one of these funny
for a roundup.
People close to the White House believe this veto threat is very real.
Oh,
says Jake Sherman of Politico.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, people close to the White House,
like on the street, close to the White House.
Exactly. What does that mean?
Look at that! Hey, everybody, it's the White House. Look, kids. Hey, what do you think about this veto threat? Oh, it's very real. I think it's
really real.
Yeah, I mean, the threat was made.
That's just, and let's face it. What do they know if it's real or not? It started 15 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago.
That's true.
How real? How do they know if it's real?
I guess ordinarily I'd say, oh, we don't know that it's real. It's been tweeted. But then you say, well, he fires the Secretary of State this way. He declares war this way. So maybe
I'm saying it's serious and we have to deal with it. But I mean, it's very serious. I mean, the guy just watched it on
Yeah.
on
on
Fox
TV,
and
so
Friends. So we'll see how real it is.
Yeah.
But okay, so suppose it's real. Now what?
Yeah.
What's the day after look like?
I don't know, and I'm not sure how to comply with his objections because I do not know what they are. I guess if you're supposed to read this literally, does this mean if they came back with the same bill plus instead of 1.6 billion for border security, it was 2.6 billion for border security, including a wall if necessary, plus a DACA fix? Would he sign that? Are we supposed to take that to mean that the Schumer, who is his partner in that one?
No, now I'm sure he wants the 25 billion now, but
25.
Yeah,
well,
yes,
I don't have that.
They offered the full 25 billion at least as authorization, because again, we talked about this authorization versus appropriation issue, but they can't spend it all 25 billion in a year, and I still don't understand how all that would work. Though you explained it to me, it's sort of I'm kind of thick on that authorization appropriation issue.
It's obscure and weird, but okay.
No, it's real, but it's a real thing. I mean, okay, well, it's fine. But you know what? When we take the Congress back, we're not going to appropriate it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it'll be.
And then we got DACA, but then they want a short-term DACA fix. Anyway, there was what he said he tweeted was offered to him. I mean, full funding included.
Okay. I mean, I guess we should tweet offer that. Says, is Fox and Friends over for the morning?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Fox and Friends. It's funny because they have a pre-Fox and Friends show that he also watches. And I assume if they're smart, they'll create a post-Fox and Friends show and call it Fox and Friends as well.
Executive Time 2.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess as long as they broadcast with the right combination of people, they can hold the president's attention for as long as they want it, which is sad and dangerous. All right, well, we got another break coming up, and more sad and dangerous things to talk about. There's just no shortage of them, so we'll take a quick 1 minute and be back.
Day.
See what else gets tweeted. Welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. We have just our 1 minute little break here, but I couldn't resist chatting during the break about the news, and I'm not even certain it's news that I guess the news is that we have some sort of confirmation, I think by way of accidental confirmation, from Guccifer 2.0, the hacker who hacked the DNC and their emails there, that he was in fact a Russian intelligence agent, which I think was the assumption before, but maybe not initially, because there's an awful lot of people tweeting things back in the day that the Guccifer 2.0 was a huge hero. Republicans.
Well, there were a lot of certain type of aspects of the left that embrace Guccifer. No need to name the names. You know who I'm talking about. But what was interesting, I will name one name.
Oh?
Julian Assange.
Oh, okay.
Julian Assange kept pretending and implying that the Seth Rich conspiracy theory was real.
And he was insistent that Russia was not his source for the emails. And now, of course, the answer is yes, it was.
Well, it had to be because Guccifer, through DC leaks, had the DNC emails first.
Yeah.
And so the reality
Russian,
is,
and yes.
We know that Guccifer was the source for WikiLeaks because they had the emails first.
Yeah.
They had them almost immediately upon the information being it. WikiLeaks actually did not have them, from what we know, until a few days later. So we do know that WikiLeaks got them from Russia, from a Russian intelligence agent, now confirmed apparently, which, again, any thinking person already knew. At this point, anybody who's I'm sorry if this offends people, but anybody who takes Assange seriously in any way is a fool, or a bad actor. I mean, there's just no two ways about it. There's no taking Julian Assange or WikiLeaks seriously at this point. It's a Russian outfit. It just is. I mean, they operate for the Russians. Maybe that wasn't his intention. Maybe it's not how it started, but that's where they're at.
Okay, I'll buy that.
And the thing about it is, there's the Seth Rich family sued.
Oh, yes.
And they're suing Fox, which I think is interesting, and Sean Hannity. I don't know that they can win this case. Defamation is really hard. Was it reckless disregard? Was it actual malice? Did Sean Hannity know what he was saying was untrue? I think Sean Hannity's got a pretty good defense that he's a complete idiot, so it's hard to imagine him actually knowing anything. So I don't know how you win a defamation case against a Sean Hannity because he doesn't know what's true and what's false. I mean, there's just this general delusional aspect of him. Now, the Fox company, though, did know. And parts of the story that's going to get Fox isn't so much Hannity, it's that news reporter person who was knowingly publishing false information. I'm sorry how I got you to Seth Rich's story, and I should hand back the mic and let you continue on the Gutziffer part, which is more interesting. But I think Fox will probably lose based on the reporter, not Hannity. Remember, there's that local reporter who was doing that, and they had that private eye who would come on and say he's investigating the Seth Rich murder, and it was done by the Democrats. I think Fox is in trouble on that part.
Maybe. Let's see. Another interesting development that we're, I guess, getting some clarity on that Karen sent to us, and I'm sure others are interested in, the upcoming press conference by Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and other law enforcement officials, that they've hyped a big press conference that they have said only was regarding a major cyber law enforcement announcement, which excited people because that could actually encompass some large part of the Trump-Russia investigation.
It could. I'm skeptical that it does.
Yeah, now I have a tweet here that just came by from Carrie Johnson. Carrie Johnson covers the Justice Department for NPR. So
she says
some reason to believe that she may have something here, and she typed it in all caps. And so there you go. It's true. 9 Iranians charged with conducting massive cyber theft campaign on behalf of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So it sounds like a different story, and everyone will be excited. Iranians, we can all rejoice together in arresting Iranians.
I figured.
Yes.
I figured it was something like that, David, because Rosenstein, first of all, Mueller's going to do anything that's Russia-related, it seems to me, at this point. And Rosenstein wants to make points with Trump and said, look, we're not just going after you in Russia. Look at us going after the Iranians.
Yes, I'm sure he will enjoy that, and I will equally enjoy when they find out that the massive cyber theft campaign on behalf of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps was to raise seed capital to invest in his Azerbaijani Trump Tower. But, okay, it'll take us a while to get to that. I mean, that story I think is actually out there as old news. Is that was it the Azerbaijani tower, or was it? I don't know. One of the I'll Google it as we stumble along here.
I will remind people that the Iranians were tenants of Donald Trump at Trump Tower.
Is that true too? Yes. Okay.
They were.
In what?
We know
capacity?
this to be true. An Iranian bank, in fact.
Ah. Okay. Oh, a bank. Terrific.
Yeah.
They pay their rent. Donald Trump.
I wonder what they cyber hacked. What is it that they supposedly hacked?
His Twitter account, and they hired John Bolton. That is amazing. Let's see.
Something about universities. I guess it's an intellectual property thing. Then.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll find out. I don't know what time does it say? When the press conference is?
I don't know, but this is the story, but it's sort of murky. Oh no, it's valuable intellectual property and data. Okay.
Okay.
Sort of like what Facebook was doing.
Ah, yes. Oh, yeah.
Except Facebook was just handing it over. It wasn't a hack.
Yeah, that's right.
Facebook was very insistent on telling us the first
data
day.
breach.
We weren't hacked.
Right.
All right, so apparently it started because my friend Sam Rubenfeld, the Wall Street Journal, is covering, and Rosenstein is talking. Information pilfered from hacks was used by IRGC or sold off, Rosenstein says. Okay. Now what? So let's go let's get the posse and go get those Iranians.
All right. Well, everyone loves to go after Iranians, and not least of which John Bolton. So he'll be very excited. And,
exactly. Maybe we'll have sanctions this time. Or, actually, what's fearful about this a little bit is they want to undo the Iran deal, and they will undo it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not, technically speaking, a breach of the Iran accord or executive agreement.
You couldn't hack our banks or whatever.
It doesn't actually say that, but there are other things that say you shouldn't do that. But
show me in the Constitution where it says.
So you in the Constitution in caps.
Yeah. And I did have it right here. It is the Azerbaijan deal. That one was supposed to be Ivanka's sort of coming out party as a real estate wheeler and dealer. But that I think reported last year that there was some indirect relationship through which the Revolutionary Guard, I think, actually invested in this tower that was supposed to be built, and I think the whole thing fell apart. But so maybe he could not necessarily be accused of having closed this deal. But the New Yorker has a story on it from October of last year. Let's see, written by Adam Davidson. And if you skim down a few paragraphs here, I mean, we might as well just fill in the background here. But let's see. If you skim down a paragraph or two, the good stuff comes up. Let's see. One of the apparent partners in money laundering, the Mammadov maybe, family of Azerbaijan, also, until quite recently, in business with the Trump Organization. In fact, for the entire presidential campaign, the Trump Organization knew that it was actively involved with a company that was likely laundering money for the the other side of the wacko spectrum, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is not a wild conspiracy theory. It is an acknowledged fact confirmed by Alan Garton, the Trump Organization's general counsel. And not disputed by the White House or any of the people involved. Ivanka Trump directly oversaw the relationship with the Mammadov family, led by Zia Mammadov, a man whom American diplomats have called, quote, notoriously corrupt even for Azerbaijan. So just in case you were wondering where I was pulling that from. Yes, the fuller picture of it being that the Iranian Revolutionary Guards have not, there's been lots of pressure from people, probably like John Bolton, to simply declare the Revolutionary Guards a terrorist operation, which ordinarily you wouldn't think would be that difficult to pull off, especially in a Trump administration. But Trump has been curiously reluctant to do it, and everyone suspects that the reason is that he was busy laundering money for them through the Trump Organization. And if you launder money with him and he gets a cut, then you're not a terrorist. So, and of course, if he does declare you a terrorist organization, what happens? They have to impose sanctions on you, and you can't launder money for them. So, you know how he feels about sanctions. This is really, at bottom, all about Iranian adoptions, however. And don't you want to help the poor orphans of Iran? It's not their fault that something, and he knows nothing about Iran, and he still thinks Khomeini is alive and the head of state there. So, he lives in the 80s. So Donald Trump, thanks a lot, lining his pockets thanks to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They're not terrorists because they pay him, and that's where we stand. However, big bust being announced, I guess, today, and the president will rejoice in it
not
because
so
Iran
big.
is making good.
I mean, it's a corporate. It's an espionage situation where people were stealing intellectual property. There's a funny part of the statement by Rosenstein where he says the Mabda Institute, which is the entity that was part of this, or the said that its purpose was to improve access for Iranian universities to to intellectual property. Well, they certainly met their purpose, right?
Yeah.
The quote was pretty funny, but in the sense that it's important because these things are important, but it's another one of these. China does this stuff all the time, as you know, and that's why Trump announced certain sanctions on China yesterday.
Yes.
By the way, I don't know how effective those particular sanctions or tariffs are going to be against China. But at least they make more sense than the steel tariffs did, which apparently have been put off till May anyway as well. The steel tariffs are pure protectionism. There's no other argument for them. China is, in theory, a response to an unfair trade practice. But you can't say Canada's cheating with its steel because Canada is one of the countries we import steel from. Mm-hmm. And you're going to impose a tariff on them in violation of NAFTA, of course. It made no sense. It was just pure protectionism, and it doesn't work. But at least arguably, conceptually, the China tariffs have more bases. What we do with Iran, I don't know. I mean, this is, they've closed this Mabna Institute. Yeah, here was the stated purpose of helping Iranian universities access scientific research. I said, well, they sort of did. Didn't they?
Right,
they helped them by hacking. Yeah. So that's where that is. I don't know I don't know where it goes.
We'll see how that shakes out. But, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if we're back here in a couple of weeks saying, there's the connection. Now we know why this was such a big deal when they announced it. Yes, it was targeting Iranians, and yes, that will be a face-saving thing for the higher-ups at DOJ and a big bust announcement on the cybercrime front that isn't about Russia, so maybe that'll preserve their jobs for a while, and then eventually it'll become clear that it too is connected to the Trump organization and their money laundering, and that was a good head fake. So maybe
look, that's the thing about that is, I mean, this is espionage. It's obviously right to do everything you can to stop it.
Yes,
it doesn't, in my view. Look, this stealing of intellectual property, cyber hacking, is something, unfortunately, that's being done by a lot of different countries, China included, Russia, Iran. I don't know all the countries, but it's just not some. This is not radical Islamic extreme terrorism.
Yeah, where are our hackers and all this? Our guys are all hacking, video games, and
I can't speak to the specifics of it, but this isn't terrorism. This is cyber hacking, and it isn't even an attack per se on, say, our power facilities or our election systems. It's basically, you've got stuff I want, and I'm going to go try and steal it, which used to be what spies did, back in the day. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how it gins up into anything else, but when's that ever stop? I think this is more Rosenstein showing, hey, we're not just doing Russia stuff. Here's our Iranian stuff too. In that sense, I think it's more of a DOJ PR blitz for Trump.
Greg has retweeted a breaking bit here, a tweet from Reuters, now saying that the Trump administration will be sanctioning Iranian individuals and some Iranian entity as well. I guess as a result, that sought to hack. Here it says the U.S. Department of Labor, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, states of Hawaii and Indiana the United
Iran?
Nations, yeah, and the United Nations Children's Fund. I knew it was
That's
about
not
adoptions.
in what I've seen here. Where did he get that from?
This is from Reuters, but let's see what this is all about here. This is a little bit broader write-up. Trump administration on Friday charged 9 Iranian individuals, so that's clearly the same heading here, and attempting to hack into hundreds of U.S. and international universities, dozens of companies, and parts of the U.S. government on behalf of the Iranian government.
Okay.
So I guess it was a little bit more extensive than just the universities, and no mention though of the Revolutionary Guard specifically.
Yeah. Well, there's
maybe that's
in the
what the
statement
Mabna
from
Institute is.
Rosenstein, he describes it. So the indictment alleges that the defendants worked on behalf of the Iranian government, specifically the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. They hacked the computer systems of approximately 320 universities in 22 countries. 144 of the victims are American universities. The defendants stole research that cost the universities approximately $3.4 billion to procure and maintain.
Mm-hmm.
The stolen information was used by the Revolutionary Guard, will serve for profit in Iran.
Okay. Maybe they were just trying to start Facebook
here of any government intrusions.
Okay. Well, this report here appears to allege that, although not with very great specificity. But I'll keep the tweet and the article to which it refers for everybody's reference later, so we can see whether anybody. You can look back and see whether you think people were jumping the gun.
I'm a little find it bizarre that the Attorney General wouldn't have mentioned it in his statement or in their press releases. I mean, it sounds like somebody's forcing that story to come out, even though. I don't think it's the actual story, but we'll leave that aside for now.
Well, we'll perhaps figure it out next week when we're back here talking about Iranian Revolutionary Guard laundering money through the Trump Organization. After all, it's eventually coming back to this, and maybe faster than we think. Maybe the Iranians were simply trying to start a Facebook competitor. I think when we watched way back when we watched the Social Network. I mean, originally Zuckerberg was hacking Harvard in order to scrape all their information to make the Facebook, as they called it at that point. And so maybe that's all this is about. That's why they were hacking so many universities. And by the way, Facebook came up indirectly again yesterday in the Kushner story after the show was done, I think. We found out one of the details we left out of the reading of the Kushner's in Our Pocket story yesterday was that Kushner, one, of course, has lost his security clearance and supposedly, therefore, would no longer have authorized access to the PDB, but somebody else, I'm sure, who does, just gives it to him so he can continue to feed this stuff. And how does he do it? One, unannounced and otherwise unauthorized, just flying to Saudi Arabia and the UAE to meet with people without notifying anybody of anything. And two, apparently he messages with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia over WhatsApp, which that's so secure and stuff. Maybe it is. I don't know, but
not Proton email or whatever.
No, I guess not. And I don't know whether they have a direct message system on WhatsApp. I'm not familiar with WhatsApp at all. The only thing I learned about it yesterday was Facebook owns that. How weird.
They bought it from a guy, for billions of dollars.
So it's, and I think people have previously described it as being, relatively secure in terms of, how much snooping can go on. But I guess now that Facebook owns it, I suppose there's some snooping going on somewhere. I guess I don't know how else they would know. I didn't read the article closely enough to figure out if it said who gave up the detail that the two of them talk over WhatsApp. I don't know. So there's a question mark right there. That guy's a spy too. Lock him up. Case closed. Moving on.
No, I mean, there's so many. Literally, Jared Kushner's going to jail, I have to believe, unless he gets pardoned by his father-in-law. I think they got him.
Yeah, and his father-in-law.
I really
might not
do,
care.
and he's also involved in Cambridge Analytica. You haven't even thought about that part of it.
Yeah, I mean everybody apparently is. Part of my favorite, or my favorite part of yesterday's discussion was how many people really are involved in Cambridge Analytica, one way or another, either paying them, hiring them, or are on the board, or taking a cut of their profits, or what.
Oh, yeah, no, your Mercer discussion was very good. I just think it's, Bannon was getting his cut, of course.
Yeah. And Kushner, was Kushner getting money from them, or was it just he just constantly hiring them? And
he got the credit. He was claiming in Brad Pascal. Pascal? How do you say that?
Pascal is what I've been going with.
Trump's campaign manager, by the way.
Yes, the new campaign manager.
For
For
was
2020.
saying it was all Jared. Jared was in charge. Jared and Eric, by the way, is who he said.
And
Jared and Eric were the de facto campaign managers.
Really?
Nothing was done without the approval of Jared and Eric.
Eric, like master of disguise, man. That guy.
Know.
Wow. I had no idea. And
you should look that one up. It's one of the funnier quotes that you'll ever see is Pascal talking about how Jared and Eric were the brains behind everything.
I mean, Saturday Night Live has us believing that he's, hopelessly idiotic. And
but he's a secret mastermind.
So it's sort of like the other SNL sketch where, the old one with or Reagan, publicly idiotic, and then when the Girl Scouts take their picture with him and are hustled out of the Oval Office, he brings the team back together and directs everybody quite competently. Let's see. What else do we need to get on the record here? I mean, on the serious side, still on the Saudi topic, I understand that the pet project and primary deal behind, or that motivated Mike Flynn's involvement in the campaign and then brief service in government was, we've talked about it before, that sort of very odd, out of left field plan to somehow provide the Saudi regime and some other Persian Gulf regimes, guess who, UAE and not Qatar, with nuclear power capability.
I remember that.
And it's run into a bit of a problem because we also saw photos the other day of that thing that all the coal miners really wanted to have happen, the awesome photo of the cabinet room, the table of which set for lunch, which I don't think I've ever seen happen before. On one side, all of the American cabinet and representatives facing off directly, beautiful photo, with the Saudi delegation all in their regalia and headdresses and everything. And like I said, that's totally what the coal miners were after. A bunch of Arabs in traditional garb sitting across the cabinet table dealing with the president, who has had the protocol officer, for whatever reason, place the flags backwards so that the Saudi flag was to the right. Very nice. Good touch if you want to be a traitor. And the problem that arose, reported by Bloomberg Politics, headline here, Saudi prince's nuclear bomb comment may scuttle reactor deal. Apparently, during the negotiations, it was sort of like, so we're going to build some nuclear reactors here, right? Even though Flynn has been bounced as national security advisor and is on his way to jail, has pled guilty, is a notorious spy, et cetera, we still get the reactors, right? Oh, yeah, still on track. And we can enrich uranium at these reactors, right? Oh, yeah, you bet. Good, because we want to build a nuclear bomb. Aces, way to go. Wait, hold on a second. No, not supposed to have acknowledged that one. So that may yet jeopardize, say, Jared Kushner's standing, with the police, for one thing, and with Israel, by the way. So Ari Natter, I don't know, Natter reports this one. Opposition to a deal for the U.S. to provide nuclear power technology to Saudi Arabia, again, Mike Flynn's idea, is growing after Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, said the kingdom would develop a nuclear weapon if Iran did. So it's really on Iran. The potential for U.S. companies to participate in the construction of as many as 16 nuclear reactors sought by the kingdom has been seen as a potential lifeline to Westinghouse Electric Company, and others suffering from the flagging nuclear industry at home. Flagging because nobody really wants to build these reactors anymore. But apparently that's a breach of protocol for the Saudis to come to the cabinet room and say, so we were thinking that maybe you would give us some technology. Whoops, wrong music playing here. Some technology to build a nuclear bomb with, because that's not destabilizing to the Persian Gulf at all. And our friends in the UAE would like that too. And by the way, those are the guys providing Kushner with a ton of money. And does anybody see anything wrong with this? I guess not.
I have an Iranian angle on that.
Okay.
Which I'll talk to you about after the break.
All right. We'll save it for after. We'll be right back. Hi, everybody. It's me, David. Let's change things up from the old fundraising pitch for just a minute and talk instead about how you can be a part of our show. If you've got a smartphone or any other electronic recording device, why not sit down and record a segment for us? Read us an important article and give us your take. Read one of your own original essays, or even just give us your commentary on something you'd like to share that's important to you. Then send the file to me at kagrox@gmail.com, and I'll try and work it into the show. Short segments, a few minutes in length, are easiest to fit in. And of course, I can't always guarantee that I'll be able to play everything, but if you've ever shouted at your radio or TV about something you wish was being covered, here's your chance to change that. Make the show your own. Send your submissions to me at kagrox@gmail.com.
Now,
welcome
Mullah
back to the Kagro in the Morning Show. We're just chatting all the way through. Our Kagro in the Morning Show returning to the air after our 2-minute break. Our conversation went on during the break because you can't help it. Everything is too amazing to sit still on. When we left off, I was reading the Bloomberg Politics story in which apparently the Saudi's Crown Prince kind of offhandedly said, "Hooray, thanks for the deal. Can't wait to build a nuclear bomb." If Iran does, and if they do, and they are, so I'm going to build one too. And that's great. By the way, I mean, I do wonder, like, are they reading the newspaper in Israel? Remember the whole Netanyahu line? Trump is terrific for Israel. Our best friend, the best friend Israel could possibly have. It's I guess we're not 6 months anymore. We're a year into the administration, and open talk about nuclear Iran and nuclear Saudi Arabia and perhaps nuclear United Arab Emirates. Best possible outcome for Israel, I'm sure. I guess they really love it. They want it.
Can I actually lead you into a conversation?
Yeah,
You've always gone deep into the weeds on the background, the history, and how the House of Saud became the House of Saud.
I have read Wikipedia on it. That's how deep I went in. But if it's deeper than we get, usually.
Went deeper, but it was deeper than I've ever gone. And the whole connection to the Wahhab and
that is important.
And here's why I'm focusing on that, because as you said, the Iran deal, according to some, permits eventual development of nuclear weapons by Iran. And the Saudis want equal footing, and that's why they wanted the reactors, etc. And what is Netanyahu thinking? And let me ask you this: what are the Saudis thinking? Are the Saudis and the Israelis aren't really fighting with each other at this point. The Saudis aren't standing up for Palestinians. They're not doing any of these things that we know of. And Israel has pretty much decided their one true enemy is Iran. Netanyahu has. So what is that saying to us about the Israeli-Saudi relationship to the degree that it exists? Or does no one care?
I do not know. I don't know.
Okay, that's a fair answer, because you said, well, what about this? How is this working out for Israel?
Yes.
We're a year and 3 months into the great Trump administration, best friend Israel's ever had.
Yeah.
Is the emboldening power of Saudi Arabia good for Israel? And if so, how did that happen?
I don't know. I mean, traditionally, no. In a modern context, I don't know how. I don't know because I'm not certain how to describe the Saudish government. I mean, that's been a problem for me for a long time. I don't know what to call it and where it starts and where it ends, and certainly
it's a family business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in essence, it's
So,
not unlike the Trump administration in that sense.
Yeah, and the person, the actual personality of the person at the top of the chain there is, defines what policy is going to be. Traditionally, prior to the last couple of years, the position of Saudi Arabia on Israel was, oh yeah, drive them into the sea. I mean, that's the default position of pan-Arabic, position on Israel generally, up until very recently, and then one at a time they've been peeled off and concluded peace agreements. And I don't know whether the Saudi regime, whoever that is this week, adheres to that policy because of their traditional position as, the religious center and the religious guardian of Islam in general, and I don't know how widely that applies, and maybe that's another source of tension with Iran because of the Sunni Shia split. I don't know, but the big effort of the last couple of years to sort of present a new modernized face of the Persian Gulf, both to some extent in Saudi Arabia, but certainly in UAE, is part of that, giving up on the Palestinian question. I don't know. I can't tell you, and suppose I'm able to make a conclusion about where the current king of Saudi Arabia stands. Nobody's talking about the king of Saudi Arabia anymore. It's all about the crown prince having imprisoned the previous crown prince. So I don't know. I couldn't possibly tell you where the future stance or even the current stance of Saudi Arabia is on the Israel question.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess Jared Kushner thinks he knows.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what happened to ISIS? I mean,
yeah, they turned up at.
Have we won? Did we win? Did we declare victory on ISIS? I'm actually curious.
Yeah.
And Syria, what's happening in Syria? Does anybody know?
I don't know. Russia gets to tell us.
Russia gets to tell us. Assad apparently won the war, from what I can tell. No one seems to care that much about Syria anymore. We launched some missiles, and it's not like you're getting a lot of coverage on it. Does it matter? Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it didn't matter. Maybe all the time we pretended it mattered, people were lying to us. I just find it sort of interesting how news interest, and I'm talking from the journalists themselves, just ebbs and flows on things. I mean, there hasn't been a story on ISIS since how long? We did the Muslim travel ban story. It got struck down. There's no travel ban. Nobody cares. Apparently, it wasn't such a necessary measure for our safety, for our national security.
Yeah, ISIS is now reduced to something that you accuse your neighbors of belonging to. If you want the cops to show up at their house. Internationally, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the Trump administration would say
we don't care anymore.
Yeah. And I guess Trump would say that's because we've bombed them back to the Stone Age, just like I said we would, and that might even be true. I have no idea anymore.
If it's true, I mean...
You think they'd talk about it
Where did we do the bombing? Was that in Syria? Was that in Iraq? What happened?
I don't know. I'm distracted by Playboy models and strippers and porn stars.
Exactly. All these things that people pretended were important. This wall.
It's working. It's working on me, and I'm trying not to let it work. I did see a story about, like I said, ISIS is now the boogeyman that you threaten neighbors with. I think I saw a tweet earlier this morning about a guy in Kansas, a Muslim guy working as an engineer in I don't know what company in Kansas. Let me try and find the tweet here. It was earlier this morning, and I guess I don't know whether he is himself of Malaysian origin, but he had, I guess, several friends who must have been at least somehow interested in Malaysia. He had a Malaysian Independence Day party at his house in Kansas. Here's the story. Hend Amri, who tweets as Libya Liberty, and very famously so, lots of followers. Muslim engineer in Kansas organizes a Malaysian Independence Day party. Guests include women in hijab and guests of Indian ancestry. He displays the official flag of Malaysia, as one does at national celebrations. I guess he was working for Boeing in Kansas. And the Boeing Employers Association calls the FBI and says, look, ISIS. And they come, like, I don't know whether they broke up the party, but the guy got reported as an ISIS operative for having a Malaysian Independence Day party with, I guess, presumably Malaysian people. And they put out the flag, and somebody said, that's a flag I don't recognize. It must be ISIS. I don't know if you know the Malaysian flag, but it looks an awful lot actually like the American flag. Red and white repeating stripes, blue field, except instead of 50 stars, there's one big star, and, there's a crescent moon in there, too.
Well,
so
yes, it does. It's a Muslim country, right?
Now, ISIS has a flag, and it's pretty recognizable. There was even a guy who went and made the Walmart bakery bake him an ISIS flag cake at some point to prove to the libtards something about Confederate flag. But, I mean, I guess somebody must have the thinking is somebody thought that replacing the 50 stars with a one big star and a crescent moon was a creeping Sharia in America sort of statement, and therefore something ISIS. That's hanging out there. That's where we are with ISIS these days. As an international force, I don't know. So,
yeah, I just find it interesting that there literally are no stories on ISIS anymore.
Yeah.
And there's no stories on Syria anymore.
Yeah, not much. And maybe we got fatigued. We were all embarrassed by, hey, there's no stories on Yemen. Right. Oh, we feel terrible with that, as we should. And then I don't know, I guess our limited attention span for the Middle East went to Yemen briefly, and then we never returned to Syria, ISIS, what have you. I don't know if that's really how it went.
There was a lot of talk about having to say radical Islamic terrorism.
Oh, yes, right. Maybe
and
we said
nobody
it enough.
says it anymore.
We may have said it enough and won as a result. So
okay, by saying it.
That's all.
All right.
Apparently that was a big deal. So, all right, let's see. We've hit that aspect of the Saudi situation and breeder reactors and bomb making. And I think that wraps up the day in Middle Eastern corruption.
We can turn to the Playmate Playboy bunnies.
Oh yes, right. There's
interview.
That. Apparently, that didn't go. Did that not go over big? They didn't.
Not to me.
No,
I can give you my reaction.
Okay, sure.
Trump had an affair.
Okay.
I mean, it's unseemly. It shows the moral evangelical bullshit. Ooh.
I think that might be okay these days. We're not on any radio, so we don't have to warn anybody. But
okay, so
that's one of those.
It was all
middle.
That's all nonsense. But so Trump's a jerk and a heel and an awful person. Big deal. I mean,
same time period, I think. Right? He may have been cheating on.
Stormy
Daniels
at the same hotel in the same Reno golf tournament.
Was it man? He's got it all going on because he was after 3 porn stars at that tournament that I knew of, and now there's the Playboy one too.
She was there too, and he
by the
way
way,
there too.
None of these. I mean,
all right. So here's what I want to know: is how come that Cialis and Viagra stuff isn't being reported in his medical reports?
Oh, I didn't know that came up. Was that?
It did not. But come on.
What did not? I'm not. What are we talking about here? So, I mean, did she hint that was the case? That he took
hint? No,
Cialis?
she said she slept with him at the tournament.
Yeah, but I mean the use of.
No, she didn't.
Okay.
All
right. Well,
I'm extrapolating.
I'm curious whether that also got thrown into the mix there. Not that it would
not
matter.
I mean, it might have. I was bored by the whole thing, to be honest with you. I told you why I thought the Stormy Daniels story was more important.
Yes.
I really do. Now, I guess you could.
Lots of people have agreed with you since then in print.
Yeah, and I think that the one little aspect of it was Pecker of the Inquirer paid, what do they call it? To grab and bury or something.
Oh, right, something catch and kill. I don't
catch
remember.
catch and whatever.
I may still have it wrong.
But the point, and was the payment during the election? I guess would make it a campaign finance issue, like the Stormy Daniels story. Mm-hmm. So I guess there's an aspect to that. I did note that the attorney for Stormy Daniels tweeted out a picture of a CD-ROM.
Yeah.
which I found kind of funny, in the sense that, who uses CD-ROMs anymore? Everything's in the cloud. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Well,
but
2006.
The implication being there are pictures.
Yeah, though they won't just say it.
No, he didn't say it. He just showed a picture of a CD-ROM.
Okay. Well, so I guess it's always been my theory that Trump desperately wants those pictures distributed, and he wants everybody to see it. He just thinks it's beneath him to send them out somehow, which was astonishing if we found a bottom for this guy. But I don't think he's terribly worried about that for some reason, because he's perhaps crazy. Where was the time for golf in all this? Four women.
I don't know how much golf he played there. Maybe he didn't really play. Maybe he only played 9 holes that day.
Maybe. It would be a terrible score if that was the case.
It's 68 for 9 holes.
I've seen his numbers. I guess that, by the way, that's just another ripe area for investigation. These celebrity pro-am golf tournaments. I don't know whether they were raising money for charity ostensibly or what, but most of the field was like famous athletes, generally speaking.
Yes.
Maybe a few actors, and he got, he elbowed his way into it because he loves fame.
Yes.
And loves fame, loves golf, terrible at both, but loves them a lot. And he went to this thing, and I guess this tells you a little bit about what that world is like. Like, how do they entice celebrity athletes and the like to raise money for charity? And I guess the answer is not necessarily the charity aspect of it, but rather that porn companies and Playboy type companies will show up and bring their models and actresses there, and you get to kibitz with people you've seen naked and wanted to meet, and that's the attraction. That's what brought Donald Trump there. Clearly, I mean, the guy ran the table on the girls and sucked at the golf, but that's clearly what he was doing there. And Melania, you should know that because you were at home with a infant child, and when he told you, "Hey, I'm going to there's a charity golf thing," and blah, blah, blah. She hadn't been married to him for long enough to realize that a red flag should go up the second he says he's playing golf, not at one of his clubs. He's going to have affairs. I figured it out, but she didn't know yet.
One of the weirdest photos that Anderson Cooper had on was that this, her name's McDougal. She was a Playboy playmate.
Yes.
And there was a party for something about Apprentice, and they held it at the Playboy Mansion in Los Angeles. Mm. And they all went. Obviously, the Playboy playmate, but also Melania and Ivanka. And there's this picture where they're all together.
Yeah. Oh, that was another angle of the story, was I guess when he was finally conducting the sexual affair part of his relationship with McDougal, he trotted out his go-to line, apparently, which he also used on Stormy Daniels at some point, which is, "You're beautiful like my daughter," which is vomit-worthy. But apparently that's his thing. He gets a hold of a girl. I don't know whether he looks for people who remind him of her, and that may be something. And whatever, you kind of really have to talk to a therapist about that. I can't help you. But or it's something that he thinks is a line that works. I mean, I guess it's possible that in his mind, women respond to, I don't know what, his sort of like fatherly overtures or something, and then maybe that's something they need to go to therapy for.
No, these are, he's a famous person, and these people, listen, if you saw the interview, you would not have been that impressed with McDougal as a person.
Yeah, probably.
I wasn't.
I get you now. I see.
The one last interesting thing about it, semi-interesting, is that the body guy, Keith Schiller, who was the procurer, he brought them up to the hotel room or whatever room they were being brought to. So he was intimately involved in all these escapades as well. So when you talk about the Moscow situation with the girls and the potential P-tape thing, that guy knows where the bodies are buried too. And I will note that apparently he has not been interviewed yet by Robert Mueller, according to the reporting that I've seen.
Okay.
Neither he nor Roger Stone have been interviewed yet.
I see. By the way, speaking of the P-tape, why not launch this rumor here? I see Jack Ox 48, who tweets us from time to time, says, asks, have you guys seen the rumor? I have not. That the reason Trump jumps for Putin is that the P-tape is really a snuff tape. Like, wow, that is like alt-right worthy, out there, holy crap, conspiracy theory. I've not heard that anywhere. I hope I don't, I guess, although, I don't know. I mean, no, I haven't. More to the point, or more provable points, I guess he also tweets us this news. Cambridge Analytica is fighting a warrant request currently and transferring assets to a new company. This, I guess, is the latest reporting from the BBC Channel 4 folks. And that I heard rumblings about very early. And I think earlier in the week we discussed this point, and I meant to get back to it, that Cambridge Analytica, of course, had publicly suspended Alexander Nix, their CEO, because, of course, there was no collusion. We're just suspending you for fun. But then I immediately saw reports that didn't matter, because Cambridge Analytica, every time they're involved in litigation, they make a prominent point of saying that, look, Cambridge Analytica is a shell company. It doesn't do anything. There are no employees. It is an umbrella that contains a number of offshoots, and it is itself wholly owned by another company. And basically every time we contract with somebody, and this was borne out, I guess, by some of the secret videotapes, whenever we contract with somebody, we just essentially start a new shell company and do all the business through that. And then if we're ever, as the British may say, pinched on this aspect of our business, it doesn't necessarily affect the other aspects of our business, which is all handled by different shell companies. And that Alexander Nix was being suspended by the big shell company that doesn't do anything and from which he draws no income anyway, and he remained at the helm of the various shell companies that actually get paid for stuff. So there's nothing going on that front. But it doesn't surprise me then to find out that they were wildly transferring assets as fast as they could, now that the police and the authorities in UK were bearing down on them, which also reminds me of the other theory floating out there about Donald Trump Jr.'s quickie divorce, which may also be possibly a scheme for hiding assets elsewhere should the hammer come down here in the United States. But that was more of a rumor than anything else. But because it's Friday, we had to throw you all these things to think about over the weekend.
Right. And it's a lot. But again, I do think this Bolton story is the biggest, because that is a real step towards ridiculous, tragic, catastrophic wars. As we said, the Iran war, I can't even imagine what that would look like. So I don't even know where that goes. It's just probably missile strikes and then God knows where. The Korean one, if it actually ever happened, would be just incredible. And to be clear, it's not a. We joke. I guess it's possible they could hit a nuclear weapon in Hawaii or maybe the West Coast, but I'm a little skeptical that they would be able to do that. What they would do is they would, inflict hundreds of thousands of casualties in South Korea.
Yes.
It would be a disaster for South Korea and possibly Japan. The United States should get out of the way, and this summit meeting hopefully gets canceled because it's going to fail, and then say, oh, well, I tried. Now it's time for military action.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. If they actually have this thing, and they said they were going to have a meeting, although Trump now also floats, I'm also going to meet Putin in person real soon, so nobody knew about it. He just tweeted it. Maybe it does happen, maybe it doesn't.
Who's doing the prep work for the big Korea summit, do you think?
I don't know, and I guess Bolton will take it upon himself to do that unless he thinks
he would kibosh it, presumably. I mean, Bolton he destroyed the last North Korea deal.
Oh. Well, I assume that, I don't know. I'm not certain whether he does that or whether he goes
this
and
is
yells.
history. 2002, when the framework was destroyed and basically due to the work of John Bolton in the Bush administration of that era.
I mean, I have no doubt that that's true. I'm
not sure that's
whether,
bad if he destroys the summit. Let's get rid of the summit first, at least.
I don't know whether
I think nothing good's going to come from that.
Or does he go to, have the opportunity to be photographed screaming face to face, screaming at North Koreans? I don't know. I don't know how they take that. Maybe it is the best thing to just shut that down now. I don't know. So we'll wait and see. But it's certainly the most dangerous of the developments. But there are so many other ones out there that are.
And the final big one, the one that will be the big story when it happens, and I say when, not if, Mueller will be fired. Will he be fired before the midterm elections is the big question. I think he will be. What do you think?
It's a terrible idea for the midterm elections. So, I guess that's the answer. He will be, because it's no one in their right mind would advise Trump to do that. I doubt whether anybody has bothered to write down, do not fire Mueller, but I'm sure he's ignoring it if they have. I don't know.
Well, the next round of indictments could be to tell how close does he get to Trump.
I guess that's possible, yes.
In these next ones. Anyway, I know you're running out of time. I'll let you do your sign-off. I know you're off for the first couple of days next week.
Yes, Monday and Tuesday we will at least not be able to do live shows, although, some question mark whether I'm able to record anything. I might just be too excited to leave some of these stories dangling out there and just spend the next couple hours blurting them out, but live show. I will try.
Don't leave us hanging. We always like to hear, and as Joan proved this morning, a lot of us even if we're not trying to clamor to talk, we always listen.
All right. Well, we'll give it a shot. And the kids are at school today, so I might actually have some quiet to do it. No coughing, sneezing, wheezing, etc. in the background.
Sorry.
or not you, my kids. We expect that from you. You're allowed. You're a guest.
That's true. That's my trademark.
Yes.
Anyway,
true.
have a good weekend.
Thank you. You do the same.
I'll be listening for your shows to see if you do a recording or not.
Right. Hope we are alive. Okay. Thanks, Armando. Let's see. Almost about time to wrap things up then after all. Let's see. Lots of stories we didn't get to, so there's plenty to read. Anything else we need to shoehorn in under the wire here? Well, only the quick note that another Republican is a total wacko. And this one, I think, well covered both at Daily Kos and elsewhere, although I have here the Wonkette report on the subject. Which wacko are we talking about here? Well, let's see. We'll scroll down the page and find out. Okay. Claudia Tenney is the wacko in question. The wacko issue in question, her insistence that Ben Carson's $31,000 dining room set was forced upon him by the deep state. Yeah, apparently, I mean, I guess the way they put this one together is some staffer who was clearly an Obama holdover and so therefore part of the deep state. Yes, the administrative staffers at HUD are the deep state. Pushed this thing through without the Carsons' involvement, or they didn't know, or it was a setup to get them in trouble. And yeah, those table-buying bastards of the deep state screwed Ben Carson over. And honest to God, United States Representative, a Republican from New York, no less, a real live member of Congress, thinks that that is the case. We are in trouble between the senators who were mad about the names of forests and the Republican Congress people who are sure that the deep state is setting up poor Ben Carson because he's so central to everything. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck. Hope you survived the weekend. One last try to sit there with Justice and catch up on other stories that we may have missed on the upcoming West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Let's see, Mark Zuckerberg is subject for today. A few other things, and we'll try and sift through them, and I'll talk to you again after
Daily
this.
Kos Radio on networksradio.com. You have been listening to the Kagro in the Morning Show
with David Waldman.
More to come. Next, the chair of the Trump's Council of Economic Advisors doesn't seem to care about the 146,000 Americans who will lose their jobs because of Trump's trade war. Trump bizarrely threatens to veto the omnibus. We heard lots about that. And Russians are already meddling in the Texas elections, if that makes any difference. Stay tuned.